today. So what we got here is a nice typical small outboard. It's been sat in a shed for close on 2 years, not been touched. I'm reliably informed this thing doesn't work, and so what we're going to do today is have a quick look at it, quick look through its engineering parts and see if we can get it working. With an older engine like this one, this has had a good life. It's had good several hours on it that, you know, would make it an older engine. There's no need to spend hundreds of pounds on these things. We can do a nice simple service on them, do some simple tasks with some simple tools, and literally some simple tools like these. We can do simple jobs on them and get them running again when this one, as I say, I've been told is not running. And all we need is some basics for it. So we need to be able to hold the safety cord, hold the safety kill switch on, and we need to be able to start the engine like that. Got a control panel with a choke, a kill switch, and this is for an outboard fuel supply, although this engine's got an inboard fuel supply as well. There's a gear lever on this side to select forward and reverse gears, and we just make sure that that does work, and it appears to. And if I kick the propeller gently, it does lock up when we supply forward and reverse and neutral. So I know that part of it's working. This throttle is stiff and seizing, so I will be taking that apart later and doing that. And then all we need to do is get access to the inside and look at the engineering components inside. Put your cover nice and safe because that'll get scratched. We look, there's a fuel cap with a venting plug for it. There's a pull start on this engine. It's got safety factors to stop you pulling it when it's in gear, so it will not work when it's in gear, but will work when it's in neutral. Throttle's working but stiff, and I can see all the levers are working where they need to, so I can see things are working, and choke is working as well. So mechanically we've got a sound system there, but it's just a scan over to see what's wrong with it, if I can see anything obvious, and then the rest is a deep dive into the engineering. So before we get the engine started finally, once I've done the work on it, I'm going to have to make sure there's some fuel in it. This has got a little internal filter, and I look down the tank and give it a little rock, and there is not a dot of fuel in that tank. So that will certainly be one reason it won't start. I also look at the engine oil, which is a little screw out dipstick. I screw it right out. I check there's plenty of oil visible there. I wipe the stick, dip the stick back into its thread, and I've got 3/4 of a tank of oil, and it's nice clean oil. There's no creaminess to it, so it's not got water in it. So before we start, I know there's no fuel in it. There's the fuel lines coming around, and this is the carburettor. I suspect, as this has been off the road for such a long time and will not start, I suspect it's probably laying there. One of the things we should check, of course, is the spark plug, but I've already checked that this morning and put a new spark plug in preparation. I did then try and pull the engine to see if it would start, and no, it does not start. So I know I've got a correct spark plug in. I'm now going to take this section apart, which is very easy with one Allen key.
Good.
So first screw to come out is the buried one inside the box, and we'll take that one completely free. Second screw comes out, and that drops the whole carburettor body off. If you do this carefully, you should hopefully not damage the gaskets. So that is the carburettor body free. Take that little seal out. So that's ready to go. So all I have to do now is pull the fuel lines off and I can detach this carburetor completely. So as I take the fuel lines off, I can say that if this carburetor hasn't been drained of fuel, then it will, the old fuel will have turned to varnish inside, and that will gum up the carburetor to the point where you won't be able to get this engine started. So I check inside and I check I have got movement there. Everything feels nice and free, and I can feel fuel. So I'm assuming that this has not been fully drained. So the first thing I'm going to do is undo the drain screw, which is usually the very bottom screw of the carburetor, and that will give me an idea of whether this has been drained of fuel. And certainly not, because we now have fuel dribbling out, and that fuel is quite a dark mucky colour, so that will be part of our problem. And the rest of this I have to actually dismantle the bottom of the carburetor, which will take a few minutes. So we've got some brown residue around the base of the carburetor. Now that could be old oil, and probably is, but this is what fuel goes like. If it evaporates, it goes varnishy and sticky. Okay, so we now have the bottom of the carburetor back on, which, as I said, is just 2 screws. Float ball drops away. And sticky, and becomes a problem for the carburetor to move. So the carburetor will not be able to operate properly. What we will do, I've taken 1 screw out just for speed, but there are simply 2 screws on the bottom of this carburetor, and then the whole bowl of the carburetor drops out. And sure enough, in the bottom there, brown fuel, which shouldn't be that colour, and some sediment, some unpleasant stuff that just needs cleaning out for a start. And all I ever use to clean that out is your typical brake and clutch cleaner. That just evaporates off, and a gentle wipe with a rag to take out any sediment that may be in the bowl. And that sediment has now gone, and you can see it on there. Okay, so seal is good and in place, so we'll put that bowl back on. In the bottom of the carburetor you've got the thing called the float, which tells you when your carburetor is full or empty, and will actually help to stop flooding, so it'll stop fuel feed once the float is right up. There's the jet for the carburetor, and that can be checked out, taken out and checked. It's nice and tight, so it's probably well sealed in, and out it comes. Screws out, and there's a tiny little bore hole down the centre of it which needs to be clear and appears clear, but we'll give it a quick jet out to make sure. Yes, there's fluid going through there. Ah, that's better. That looks a bigger hole now. And that can go back in and screw back in and tighten up. Then I want to remount the carburetor and put the various pipes back in the various places. So I have got a rear fuel pipe which I need to push it into place for and drop that rear fuel pipe on, and that should almost self-locate because it's quite a short, quite a stiff pipe. There we go, it's in place, and that clip will go on. Just a pinch with a set of long nose pliers.
We've got 4 vacancies.
And gradually wheedle it on. There we go. That's in place. This fuel line goes on this one, and again the clip goes in place.
But it is difficult finding people who've got the time.
Clip in place, and the air feed there has gone on as well. Okay, so next thing is the 2 big screws go back through, which again will take a few seconds to get through. But okay, and now we've put all the gaskets in place. Hopefully we can get the carburetor back in line again. A little bit of a fiddle, but it goes in gradually. And then the Allen key will tighten down the carburetor. So we've done very little to the carburetor. We've taken the jet out, cleaned the jet, which sounds quite complex but isn't, as you saw, and we've cleaned the bowl out. The float is moving, so we know that part of it's working, and we know that the mechanism that causes the valves and things to open, we know that that's working. So we are now in that position where we can finalise everything that side. The other thing that has to happen, and so we finalise those bolts in, and then we have to put the little operating rod back in its housing, which goes in and click. Not a very difficult job to do. We then make sure that things are moving and the choke is moving, everything's working right, clips are on in place, clips on, no clip on that one. Okay, that's that section. Pop some fuel in it, some fresh fuel. Purchased at great expense this morning. Okay, so having put some fresh fuel in, I've got about half a tank of fuel. I put the little fuel lever to the correct position, prime the engine to make sure that fuel is in the filter, and make sure that that vent is open so that it doesn't draw to a vacuum. And then what we're going to have to do is pop it in this tank. So what we have to do now is pop it in and give it a water source, where it goes in this tank, and it will now sit in water where it can be run properly. So I've made sure everything's in place. The spark plug is connected there. That will be refitted later. This kill cord, this is the bit that must go on you when you're riding the boat. And the choke, all working. Gear shift is in neutral. Handle down and slowly rotate to the start position. So after 2 years, are we going to get a start? So choke out, give it one pull to make sure it's free. yes, it works.
No, it's like gas.
Off the engine here. Reverse. Excellent. So one thing we've noticed here is this is not returning fully, and it's leaving too much idle on the engine, so the engine's running too fast to idle, and it looks like this is too stiff. So what I'm going to have to do is take that apart, which we can deal with another day, and fix that problem. And when the engine started, we must make sure there's a telltale of water of some sort to ensure we have water cooling. This one is obviously running very slow, so we're going to have to make sure that is cleaned out. Most of the telltale water comes out the exhaust, but we would like some coming out of the actual engine.